Welcome.
Hello.
Oh,
We all live here?
Yes, we are. What? That was weird. That is the space-time continuum, man. What's going on?
Why are you so fucking loud, man?
I don't know. My microphone is
can't
quite
help it,
low.
you know that.
I was like,
We're fine.
why is your audio turned all the way up, Chris?
I've not got it all the way up. You changed my name to Simple Jack. See, honestly, you can't let this guy out anyway, ladies. Honestly, he changed that because. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined tonight by Iron City Paranormal. We have them back once again from the technical problems that they've had. Dan is actually in his what's that? Your sewing room there, Dan?
It is my grandmother's nursing home. Over there is where she knits her quilts over there. She's got a family tree she's working on right now. My wife is 36 going on 85.
That's pretty good, though. Oh God!
It's a good thing she doesn't watch any of this.
Oh, I know. It's a good thing. It's a good thing that she doesn't support us in our endeavors.
Probably for the best.
That's the
Yes, it is.
So, let me see. Who have we all got in the chat tonight before we start talking to these amazing guys? Who we all got? They've got Dots MC. We've got Louise. We've got who we all got there? We've got it's not working.
Lawrence.
Bloody chat.
The chat not working for you?
Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it does this, right? Oh, we've got Son of the Naked Bigfoot there. Good to see you, man, and be safe when you go to that island. Good to see you, bud.
Yeah.
What else we got? Well, we've got, where is it? Stephanie. It's good to see you, Stephanie. There you go. I think it's because I've got the two mouses hooked up. I've got the one on the laptop, and I've got another one.
Hey, I've tried to help you with your technical issues, but you don't ever listen to a damn thing I gotta say.
I'm fine. You know. So, guys, it's hopefully one of your team members will be joining us shortly once she fixes her computer or whatever's going on today. You guys have always got technical problems, I've noticed.
So it's Derrick's fault.
It's always my fault.
Aye, Derrick, it's your fault.
It does always seem to be centered around Derrick.
It's Derrick's fault because we talked the last time we were on your show. His computer blew up when we started talking about the spirit.
That was 2 times ago. Okay, it hasn't happened since.
But then, like, we've had technical problems every time we've been on with you guys, and we don't have it with other people, so it's strange.
Very strange because there's an echo.
The Bald and Bonkers.
Is there an echo? Is there an echo coming through me?
Well, I can tell you where it could be coming out of, but
that's weird. It's weird. It's every time, Dan, it's your fault. I'm blaming you. It's no Derrick.
That's fine. I don't even.
It's that sewing room you're in. It's got the spirits in there. Yeah.
Yeah, the acoustics in Grandma's room are not very good.
Yes. I must admit, I'm into a wee bit of the sewing myself. You know. But anyway, guys, what have you been doing since we last seen you? What have you been up to?
A lot. Oh man, I don't even know when the last time we were on, what investigation we were on. But we've started to host some more public events. Mars, PA. We hosted one around Halloween. It went really well. We opened up. You guys actually helped us investigate the tattoo shop a while back. And so we started opening that up to the public with this event through the owner and everything over the township. And it was really cool. We had a really good turnout the entire event. And then for the investigation that we opened to people, it was fantastic. I think they all had a really good experience. Yeah, I mean, and it just draws more interest to the area, to the shop, you know, and it's really the interest there. But outside of that, we've started to do some private residences where we've investigated for people just experiencing strange things. And we've started to do some cleansings, which also have to this point gone well. We haven't had any negative feedback, let's say, except for the one.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood here, because
she broke her leg. It's not our fault.
yeah, we had a slight we had a slight concern after the last one, because we found out weeks later that the woman who's in her 80s fell and broke bones, and we thought that it was possibly because we pissed something off while we were there. But luckily, it was not an unseen force that pushed her. She actually tripped over something, I believe. So, hate to hear it happen, but you know, we were sweating it out for a hot minute while we waited for what was happening there.
I think when we first got the message, our hearts just dropped. Like, oh my God, are they going to blame us? Did we do this? Like,
Just to say something really quickly, Son in the Naked Bigfoot, Pete, be safe on your travels tonight. Could you bring that up, Dakota? That he's got there. Be safe, bud. And
Yeah,
don't get
safe
eaten
travels.
by anything.
Yeah, man. Especially knowing this stuff his dad used to get into, man.
I'm looking forward to some of the evidence that you've sent over. I'm actually really looking forward to seeing some of that. Because the last time you were on, you showed us some absolutely amazing stuff.
yeah, I don't know if we can top some of that old stuff, but we certainly can try.
See, that's the thing, too. You were saying about cleansings. How do you not know that they don't follow you home? So that's the thing. Because you're right with having problems, Derek.
Yeah, I have, and you know, there's also some stories I don't think you've heard about me receiving a package in the mail that we tried to backtrack and find out who it came from, and ultimately it came from, what was it, Dan? Someone that you worked with, like where he lived, right?
Well, yeah. So it's a really
Long story.
confusing story for everybody. But yeah, what's that?
Do
What'd you
tell.
say, Greg?
Oh, this is how he gets his jollies.
Yeah.
Do
So
tell. Tell us.
So Derek fields our emails, and we got an email on our Iron City account saying that this person had a doll that they were trying to get rid of because they were cleaning out their mother's house to send her to a nursing home, and the guy's brother took the doll that they found that was still in the package, took this doll home with him, and ever since he had taken it home, strange things were happening around his house. His wife was afraid. They were seeing people, like shadow figures in their house, like some really creepy stuff was going on. So
I'm trying to find a picture of it right now. I don't see it.
Yeah, I can find one, but the guy's wife wanted rid of it, so they sent it to this guy that was emailing us, who is the guy's brother. And then ever since he had received it, strange stuff was happening in his house. Again, like his wife and him were arguing more. There was some tension created. There was all of this stuff going on that had not been happening previously. So then he said he remembered us from an island investigation that we did years ago. There was like a public investigation that we were helping out with. And we told them, when this is not something that we post about online, we don't post that we have a Dybbuk box, but we tell people we have a Dybbuk box. So this guy had to have met us somewhere because he knew about this box. And he's like, I remember you from the island. You know, you had this haunted box. Thought maybe you guys would be interested. I'm trying to get rid of this doll. Do you guys want it? So Derek.
Well, I think that show is actually coming up too, right, Dan? Is that like the show that we were talking about the more spectacular was coming up. I'm like, hey, we
Yeah.
can, toss something else on our table, another talking point, right?
Oh yeah, because here's two idiots now, right? That are like, yeah, send us the haunted thing. It's causing all of these issues in your house. We're like, fuck yeah, send it. Excuse me. I'm like, like send it to me. So we were just like excited about it. Well, then Derrick sends me the emails that day, the first day that he contacted us, and the guy at the top, the guy that it was coming from, was the name of a guy that I work with. And it had his picture on it as well. Like Google has a little bubble and it shows their picture.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, his name's Pete, the guy that I work with. And I was like, what the hell is that? So I walked down 2 cubicles from me. I'm like, Pete, I'm like, if you have a haunted doll you want to send us, I'm like, save the postage and just give it to me. I'm like, why the hell are you emailing us? And he's like, what are you talking about? I showed him the message and he's like, dude, I'm not sending those. He's like, that's my picture, but that's not me. And I'm like, weird. And so then I messaged Derrick and I was like, Derrick, this dude got hacked or something. I'm like, don't expect this doll. Like, it's not going to happen.
Well, so before that, I sent an email back, right? Like after Dan told me it's not this guy, whoever, I tried to send an email back, like, thank you. Like, we really appreciate it. Where'd you find out about us? Just to see if I could get any more information. And when I sent that email, it actually kicked back with email does not exist or whatever. So they actually had deleted their email, I guess, or something. I don't know. The email never existed. I'm not sure. But
so we weren't expecting the doll. And then the day later, Derrick messages me. He goes, guess what just showed up in my house? I'm like, no way. There's no way. Well, then he has his freaking Jester doll. It's this little, it's maybe like 9 or 10 inches tall. It's not a big thing.
Yeah, I mean, and it's small too. It's like a almost
so
like
just said it wasn't big.
I'm trying to think of marionette things, whatever. Go to hell. It was small.
And what?
You two sound married.
Oh God!
I'm drinking water. Okay.
I'm trying to find a picture of it, but so we have this doll, and we haven't had anything. Derrick's, got it at his house. He hasn't had anything happen to it. He has a K2 meter parked outside of it, and he hasn't there's nothing weird going on with it. So we have no idea, but it's a cool story if nothing else.
Well, on top of that, whenever I received the package, the return address was cut out, so I couldn't even find out where it was coming from.
Huh.
The whole thing was bizarre.
It was just strange. Nothing's happened with it. I mean, I have it here, so
nothing that you know of.
Sure.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Next thing you know,
that's actually quite interesting.
Doll just crawling behind him.
Let me know if you see that.
So we're climbing up.
Derrick had a full set of hair before the Jester doll walked in.
Yeah, well, let's blame that.
Yeah, this shit does go.
Warning, hair loss.
Well, at least I know I'm in a safe place here.
Not when I'm here.
You're among the other bald people. Obviously, Dan has got
Dan's the minority,
he's
man.
Fine, but he's the one that's left out. I feel sorry for Dan.
They're great.
I'm fat and I have hair. That's awful.
What's that? Was that Dakota?
Derrick just had something move past him. I'm not fucking. You literally just had something move past him behind him.
Let's see a replay. Can we take this back?
I wish.
Derrick does not have any animals. No animals. He has 2 children, but they're in bed, right?
They're in the process of. I could actually hear them upstairs, running around before.
Seriously, anybody in the chat?
I'm looking at back the new. I am looking at it the new. That's actually quite interesting. That is. What it was, ma. Let's just have a wee quick.
I was just fucking joking. When
there's a shadow.
Goddamn.
Okay, well maybe there's something to the Jester. Okay.
Fuck, you got a trickster on your hands. That's not.
There is actually a shadow. There is a shadow, but I'll need to look at it in the TV after. So there you go. It's coming for you, Dan.
Interesting.
Very. There's always something that happens when I come on this show. What do you guys do?
Well, if it's a
I know, but
if it's 150-year-old spirit, it'll be right at home in my room with me. So that's perfect.
it'll be fine. It's maybe just into knitting and sewing and pottery and stuff like that. It's probably just it's happy.
Yeah, based on the way out of that room, it'll be its 20-year-old mistress.
Oh.
Oh my God, Dakota. Thank God I don't live in the same country. That's terrible. So, guys, what other locations have you been? I mean, obviously that barber's you were at was very interesting. That was just weird, that place. That was definitely weird. Did you ever manage to go into the cellar and dig up the floor?
No, we've never had that option. I mean, I don't think that he even really owns the building, does he, Dan?
So, fun fact, the basement of the tattoo shop where, you guys had mentioned going to the basement was previously owned by a drugstore that was next door. Then that was like where they had all of their, drug storage. So that was the reason we couldn't get access to it, because it was, it was protected in that fact.
Yeah.
That drugstore has since closed. So there is a possibility that we could get access to it, but we have not thus far.
Yeah. I mean, when I first seen that place, I was like, there's something not right about that place. It was up the stairs was all right, but it was like when you went down, it was weird. It was just, there was a weird depression kind of feel about it, and it was weird because that day that I was talking to you, I'm 100% sure I could see an old guy standing behind you where there was a door, and I didn't get there was a door there, and until you told me that.
Yeah, I remember that. We kind of looked at each other like that's where the old door was.
Yeah, it was like somebody for the 1920s sitting where how the storekeepers would be, and it was just like standing there like, look.
Yeah, and that was the like that the area you were talking about was like a huge opening that connected all of those storefronts. It was like a much larger space, and they don't have on record exactly what it was, but there's belief amongst some of the residents there that it was like some sort of like soda shop or an ice cream parlor or something like that, which would had that big pass through, So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns about not only that building but that town. Right. And
yeah,
we're going back to that area actually in May of this year. We are doing an investigation of the train station that was original to the town. They've moved it slightly. They moved it from one plot of land to another. And when they did that and they went to move the train station, they found a dead cat, like a mummified cat underneath the station. And
see, that's really interesting.
Well, that cat is seen all around the town. And when Derrick and I were there at the tattoo shop, it was pushing the cat balls, and we heard a meowing coming across our EVP, and it was rolling our cat balls back and forth. So we're going back to do that investigation in May.
See, that's very interesting. You say it. Very interesting. You say about the cat, because we had a Leonard Lowe come on to talk about witches in Scotland. The witch trials and stuff. And a lot of the old buildings, it's maybe tradition that's came across to the United States. They would put a mummified cat underneath the properties, houses, to protect them for like curses and bad omens and things. Yes.
No kidding.
Yes. Yeah. And it's maybe something it's maybe someone that's came over for the old country, Scotland or whatever. That building's been built, and they thought, I'm going to put a mummified cat under there to keep the spirits and things out. You don't know. There might have been problems in the past. There might have been an Indian burial ground. You don't know.
It's very possible. This whole area had a lot of stuff like that we're finding out the more we do. That's interesting that you say that, because we're going to have to ask when we get out there. We're going to have to see if they're aware of anything with that, because like I said, it's the historical society of the town is, who we're going through to do that investigation. So it'll be interesting to have that conversation with them, because I've never heard that before. When
you gave me the name of that town after I said I seen that guy and stuff like that, I actually researched the place. There was something to do with the Civil War. It was quite important in the Civil War. What I did find out, a lot of troops went through it, so it makes you wonder if any of their spirits are like lingering. And it also had like history of the slave trade too. Yeah.
Well, on top of it, that there's been a lot of those kind of things that were just buried because they weren't exactly, okay to talk about and to spread around. So people just, whatever actually happened there, they were able to bury it and just forget about it. Yeah. So who's to really say what was going on there?
Yeah, and we know there's a place like closer to where I live than Derrick right now, but it's like 15 minutes down the road, down towards the river where the railroad runs. We just investigated a place there in, I think it was September or October of last year. It was previously only investigated one other time, but it was part of the Underground Railroad, and the whole town where we were at. Yeah. They're finding tunnels all the time, where they would move these slaves, because they would come off of the trains. They went right along the river. They would come off the trains and then find a safe house within this town. And that location that we're talking about in Mars is probably like 40 minutes away from where.
Yeah, probably something like that.
There's a lot of that in this area, like Underground Railroad, ties to the Civil War, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the people that were coming up this way in Pennsylvania, they were going to Canada. So being that Mars is actually more north of there, it's possible they would have just kept going up that way. I have no idea what the way would have been, but it would have been the right direction, if nothing else.
It's an interesting place. I'm looking forward to when you guys go back. I really am, because that is an interesting place. Did you know they're live with Dakota? I'm sure Dakota joined you in one of your lives.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
Yes, that was.
We actually were gonna actually join this session from that there. Shop. He wanted us to the owner wanted us to come do the podcast from his shop again. And I told him, I said, well, I'd be all for it. And unfortunately, Derrick couldn't make it out. So we stayed home, and I stayed in Grandma's living parlor.
Sorry? Or you're welcome.
Okay.
It could have been worse.
This is Disneyland.
Run about your... That's fine. You're into your sewing. Don't worry about it. It's a modern age. A lot of men are into that kind of stuff. Now, don't be shy about it.
No,
that's true. No judgment.
No judgment here.
It's a judgment-free zone, like Planet Fitness.
So can you tell us about some other interesting locations before we get into showing some of your stuff?
Well, some of the stuff that we actually did send you are some of our more recent locations that have had more interesting results. There's one that we sent you. It's an old poor farm that just kept getting overcrowded over up in Greene County here, and the place is humongous. I mean, you step foot in there and you think you have an idea of where you're going, the size of the place, and it's a whole different ball game once you get in there. And corridors left and right, and we didn't have enough cameras to set up all over the place, but we had some really interesting things happen there. That's one of the ones we'll talk about and show you.
Yep.
I mean, outside of that, we did a lot of returns. recently. There was one that Dan didn't actually get to go to, but we were able to use him to kind of bounce some of what we found this time around versus the first time we went with him, just to have kind of an open mind there. And that was really cool to see that. And then, like I said, some of the residences, we have some really good evidence about.
Yeah. The last time you were on, you showed us one. It was like a pool. It was a kind of room with a pool, and there was the shadow, and I was like that was good. That was a good capture. Remember
Yeah,
that
was it at the music hall, the Carnegie Music Hall, where we got that.
Yeah. That.
Yeah. So Derrick and I have been like, and Aaron, who's going to hopefully be joining us later on. We've been kind of branching. We're not saying we're getting away from the investigating the popular places, because those are always a good time, but we're trying to get more involved with historical societies, with businesses, that want help and are looking for support, individuals that are looking for support. So that's where, the train station, that's going to be a thing with a historical society, the Irish Townsend House in New Brighton, that was a historical society. Like these are incredible places that aren't necessarily known for their paranormal activity, but they have a really good story to tell, and they don't even, they're trying to dig up what that story is. And there's luckily some people that have a very open mind about paranormal side, about like what kind of information can be dug from that. So these people are entrusting us to come in and tell the story of these locations. And it's actually fascinating, some of the things that we're not only able to capture, but we're able to validate through the historical societies. If we get names and we share that back with the people that run the place, and they're able to validate what we got, like that's what we can't get when we do some of these other places.
Well, and to that point, everything we find out is more meaningful to them. I mean, these large places that just are in it for money, that have that pull, that draw from these TV shows or whatever, they don't necessarily care what we find. And I guess rightfully so in a sense. If they have an investigative group coming in every weekend, finding out something different, how are you going to keep it all straight? But these smaller places, these lesser known places that have these small ties to the community, everything that we find means that much more. It's magnified to an extent. And I think that we come away from those with much more than some of these other bigger places.
Good to remember too, a lot of these bigger places have got like hundreds of people getting into them all every week, right? Different people get in every week. So the spirits, it's like we were talking in Emerald Isles Paranormal last night. It's like the spirits might get used to you coming in and out, right? Whereas you're going into somewhere new, where never really been investigated, and the spirits are like, oh, who are these strange people? What are these people up to? What are these wanting? And they might communicate with you.
Yeah, and to that point, like if they don't have the ability, and like, because we take stuff in there that makes it easier for them theoretically to talk to us, and if they're not given that ability to do that very often, it's like when a child learns to talk, it's like, you just hold on, because everything's gonna come out that they couldn't say the first 2 or 3 years of their lives, so now they're going to be all pent up with all of this information and these stories and just this desire to be heard, and it's incredible that they were able to get some of the activity and the feedback, and specifically on the verbal side, right? I mean, that's where we pick up the more EVPs. That's where we pick up more spirit box activity. We can get stuff setting off our REM pod all day. We can get stuff moving little cat balls a lot, but for them to actually talk to us and try to tell us a name and tell them who they are, that doesn't happen as often in some of those bigger places.
Yeah. I mean, if you really think about it, the spirits maybe get fed up because of all these people coming in wanting to perform tasks for them. Whereas you're going to like a new location and the spirits might want to communicate with you. They might want to tell their story, and then they'll be more lively, as one would say.
Yeah, I mean, I'm being intrigued by you actually talking to them, whereas most of the time in these places they're kind of in the background. If they're doing something, it's while these places are under normal operations, and that's not why you're there. So there's always those different mindsets.
Yeah.
So Dakota, do you have some of? Oh, just got to say.
No, I was going to say, and also we could be going into these places and talking to just dead air, and we think we're getting stuff back, and we're just absolutely crazy. You know, there's also that possibility.
I'm still waiting for the straitjacket to come in.
If you don't go yours yet, Dakota, I got mine delivered last week.
Probably easier to fit you than it is me.
That's fine. That's right. You could probably get out of that kind of stuff. He lost his keys to his handcuffs the other day. He was punting around about his room. He was telling me he lost his keys to his handcuffs. Things that he gets up to, ladies and gentlemen. Things he gets up to.
If you only knew.
I don't want to know.
He keeps asking about it. I'm concerned.
I find it interesting. I'm like, what do you want? My handcuffs? But look, it's fine. It's fine. You know? But honestly, see some of these new locations, the energy's in there. I mean, obviously, you're talking about how you were doing cleansings. Have you ever came across spirits wanting help, saying to you, "Please help me cross"? But then again, are they good spirits? But are they something else pretending to be? Have you ever came across that?
Yes. We have come across, spirits asking for help numerous times. We have not had any come across saying we want help crossing over per se, but we hear, a lot in our recordings, the help me, right? And it's like your stereotypical type paranormal feedback, right? Help me. But, that's typically in places where there's been, like Derrick was talking about the poor farm, where these people were left in, really terrible conditions. So we don't know if that's residual at that point, or if they're actually if there's something telling us they want out of their current situation. We don't know, Derrick, that's the way I feel. I don't know how you feel about it.
I'm always torn with that because I'm like, I don't want to hear that, or it's too cliche to hear that. So in the back of your mind, you're telling yourself, no, I'm not actually hearing that. But at the same time, most of the time we hear these things through recordings when we're going through our review. So a lot of the time when we hear these things where they're asking for help, it's not in the moment. So we can't really proceed down that path. A lot of the time, those are actually the things that we get through EVPs a lot, rather than through Spirit Box, Phasma Box, the other types that we typically use. But there are actually EVPs that are very quiet. You need to really listen with headphones. It's not one of those things that we usually hear live in person where we can proceed. But yeah, I agree with Dan. I mean, that's a lot of the time it's these places that these people wanted help on a regular basis, and it was a very strong energy, strong emotion that's tied to the building. So yeah, it's absolutely possible, and I think that most of the time we've talked about these things, that's what it's more tied to is the building, is that tragedy that happened there.
There's a question in the chat there. That's for Louise. Do you have any particular favorite equipment you love to use?
Well, Derrick can go with his, and I have mine. Go with you. What's yours, Derrick?
So I feel like I'm in a transition period. Mine has always been the thermal.
Well, that's the podcast we're doing tomorrow, talking about your transition.
That's a different story.
Not this one.
My bad. I get my days confused.
Yeah.
Leave it.
What a load of my wig.
Dead weight. Okay. No, but mine in the past has been the thermal camera. I've been able to see some things on that has literally stopped me in my tracks. It's also helped tie things together that we're hearing, knocks, whispers, that kind of thing. And we've captured some really cool stuff with them. I mean, things that are just unbelievable, where you see a body peering around the corner, or somebody sitting in a chair crossing their legs. I mean, all clearly on a thermal. And try to replicate it, there's no way. It's not possible. But recently, I think I've kind of been moving away from all the stuff in my face that's really taking away from the experience. And I started with the cameras. Like I stopped staring at those handheld video cameras the whole time. Recently it's been more along the lines of instead of me holding this camera right here, I'm in the moment. I'm trying to be there. And I think that's that kind of thing I take away personally a lot more from it. But my favorite piece of equipment right now, I like simple. I like the K2s, the REM pods, things that are right there, things that you can communicate with, and it's just some of it's just unbelievable, unexplainable.
Yeah, so for me, I am the really smart guy that tried to get Derrick away from using the technology so heavily. You know, so for me, my favorite equipment has always been my body. You know, and when I say that, like,
good answer.
Our ears, even our skin, like the sensations that you have when you're like really paying attention to the building around you is probably the biggest thing. But it's unfortunately not something that we can capture to share with people, other than, you know, oh, I felt something touch me, or, you know, I feel a cold spot or something. Then we try to support that with our technology. But I personally like, you know, like my own senses more than anything else, because that's what at least drives us in a place where we can, you know, employ some of our other technology and get something out of it. But as far as, you know, pieces of equipment are concerned, we've had phenomenal results recently with flashlight activity. So we'll put little mini mag lights up around the room, and we'll have them turn the lights on and off to answer questions. And there's a lot of discussion around whether or not those are reliable sources. But, you know, when something happens where you ask a question and this light that hasn't turned on for 20 minutes immediately turns on, like that to me is really good at, like, that's really hard to debunk and say that that's something with a flashlight, you know, with the way the flashlight functions. So I've really been.
I know.
No, I was just saying I've really been gravitating towards the use of those and trusting those more, because you can tell when it's just, you know, it's set up too fine of an adjustment or something. But sometimes it's mind blowing what we get out of those things.
Oh yeah, the clear cut responses, the yes or no's. It's so hard to discount any of that.
Cool.
I was about to say, why don't we go ahead and get into some of these videos that you got?
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, before you start rambling off through the rest of the show there, Chris, God.
Come on, I love talking to these two.
I know. I was just about to say, I know Derrick's saying he's trusting his body. Yeah, I vaguely recall an incident where he felt like something was stuck in a sausage up his ear, but
how do you know it was a sausage?
I was using a euphemism.
A paranormal. Pete, are you still
Pete,
here?
we need some
Pete?
lube.
A paranormal sausage.
It's a ghost sausage.
Was it warm to the touch?
It was after I talked to it for a little bit.
Yeah, he was talking right into it.
Yep.
Like, that's not the mic, Dan.
So this one's really neat. This one's probably one of my favorite captures that we've had recently.
Yeah, I mean, this was just a simple trail cam, and we had it set up in one of the more active wings where there have been shadows, doors opening, closing, that kind of, the age-old paranormal activity.
This is at that the poor farm in Greene County.
Can I just say there's nothing coming up for me? Is there anything coming up for you, Dakota?
Yeah, it's coming up for me just fine.
There's nothing. It's just a blank screen and me and you guys below me.
All right. Chat, you guys able to see it and everything okay? Or we
guys, can you see this?
I can see it.
All right.
Yeah, I'm able to see it as well.
Okay.
It's weird that because I can see it on my phone, but I can't see it on the screen.
Well, nobody cares about you.
I'll watch it on my phone.
It's a very hard realization to get to, Chris, but sometimes we just don't care.
It's absolutely fine.
You're not as special as you think.
I know. It's okay. A wee tear coming out my there. A wee tear.
Here's a quarter of someone who cares.
So, Chris, hopefully you can see it on your phone. So this clip, you're gonna see two things happen in this clip: the lights that are turning on and off, and a figure standing at the end of the hall inside the door. And what you can see is more or less somebody's like left arm coming down from the door frame on the left-hand side, and you can see it move.
Yeah, you almost like need to pause it right at the end there.
Yeah. Oh, I seen that. Yep.
Like, yeah, something's definitely just poked its head out and tried to fucking away, but it's like, still see you.
Yeah, and the lights flicking on and off, we were not playing with any lights. We were, told specifically, do not touch the light switches. So we weren't touching light switches. We did not notice any lights coming on or off anywhere in the building. And what's very odd to me is they're turning on in rooms. There was for us to have access to light switches, they were like a light switch at a central point that you would turn on and the entire hallway would light up.
And you can actually see one of those lights up above on that ceiling. I think that I believe that's one of those lights that would light up the whole hallway, and you can tell that's not turning on or off.
So you can see that figure or whatever like move towards the end of the video.
Oh yeah, that's creepy.
That is damn.
It was very odd to us, and we don't have an answer for what that is. We only caught it this one time. We had that trail camera set up all night. So if there was one of us that had moved past the camera to go back into that room, we would have had, we would have tripped the camera before and after. So you would have seen somebody walking down the hall to that area, and then we would know we were there. But this camera was, didn't pick up anything. I think later on in the evening, Derrick, I'm sure we got other videos because we did go back to this area not knowing we had captured this.
Yeah, we had no idea until our review. That's the only thing with the trail cams. But at the same time, you're setting a camera and walking away. You don't really do much else with it. But I actually find it very interesting that the lights and the shadow are occurring at the same time, as if there's some kind of energy moving down the hallway towards that door or something along those lines.
And this, you can see, this is the brick part of the building. This was the original part of the poor farm. They added additions onto this, like behind where this camera is facing. So, but this is the original part of this building with all the brick.
That is interesting.
Right?
Oh.
It's quite interesting because I came up and got to say here, and it's going to annoy some folk in that, but see the door to the left, it's my left, above the Iron City logo, you've got the white, the door that's open and then closed. You see what I'm talking about? I hear.
Yeah,
that's
that light.
I'm not a particular believer in orbs and stuff like that. I believe in obviously that's maybe just dust. But see at the very start, it's as if something walks out and you can see it coming down. It's just like a wee orb. It's weird. Just watch the door. You'll see what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very faint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Only you, Chris, would get fascinated by flying dirt.
It probably is. It's probably just dust. The poor slaves haven't done their duties, and that's that. It's probably just dust, and but that shadow at the very bottom's strange.
It is.
Yeah, so here's where it's fun doing what we do, right? Like Derek said, we didn't know we captured this. So now when we go back to this location, now we have more information, to come back, and we're going to focus on this area a little bit more than we are. But there are so many things that we just cannot explain going on here because, like I said, the way the light switches were wired, the way that,
And I believe
rooms
that
are
the historical
flickering
society, that was one of their direct questions, if I'm remembering this correctly, is they were asking about the light switches, and then they said something about the lights not looking right.
Yes,
and that kind of was able to back this up. That it's like we didn't even have access to that.
Yeah, no, they specifically asked us don't turn on individual light switches. There was a set of 4 light switches, like at the central location on each floor, that we could use to light up an entire wing at a time. But these ones are coming on like in individual rooms. So we just don't even know how this could have happened because I don't even know. We never tried to go in a room and flick a light switch. So we don't know if that light would turn on or not. So we just don't know. And like I say, when we go back there, we'll ask them and show them this and try to talk to them. But there's just so many unknowns at this point. That's the best we can do is just show what this was,
It's fantastic capture.
It is.
It really is.
You can next one pulled up.
Yeah,
Not
let's
too
get the
many
next
ads.
one pulled up. This is great. This is like what do you call it? A kid in the candy store.
Whoa,
this was another moment of a trail cam, and this was our safe area.
Yeah, we're right there in the reflection area.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So you see almost like a flip, like the light.
The light almost turns into it too.
Yeah.
If you watch the light moving from the left.
Mm-hmm. You can clearly see someone walking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right there. And like Derek was saying, this was the main room where we had all of our equipment set up. Or I'm sorry, not set up, but like all of our cases and everything brought in. We took the equipment from this location, took it out. We got pizza delivered partway through the night. We ate in this room. Like this was our kind of our lunchroom, so to speak. So anytime we were in here, you can clearly see it's somebody. It wasn't a question. We weren't shadows. We were people, right? So when we saw this, it was interesting. And when we take this, I don't know the timing of it. I don't know if we really can piece the information together, but the way that shadow is walking left to right, it's walking
towards that hole.
Yeah, it's walking back over towards another section of the building where we captured another trail cam capture of a shadow figure walking and standing in the doorway, looking in to see what was going on, and then turning around and walking away. I don't know if you shared that with them, Derek.
Yeah, it's the last one on this page, the kitchen shadow. But it's like what Dan's saying. I mean, it's very interesting about the timing.
Yeah, and you can see we don't have the time set on the camera, and we need to do that. We need to like update
we have a few times, but anytime that we change a card out, it does like some weird default setting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of those trail cams are bad about that.
So yeah, if you want to pull up that other one, that last one he was saying on that list, I think that one, it's really cool how they kind of are very similar. So we have that like shadow figure. So you'll see it. I think it's actually in the window that you see the reflection of it.
It's almost a reflection of the shadow.
Oh, yeah.
And I believe to add to this, there was another group that had come in. What was it? A month before that, or was it even longer?
Yeah, it was. It wasn't like a long time, but it was.
It was recent enough that we remembered that moment. But they said almost the exact same thing, where they saw a shadow in this window in the kitchen.
It's as if there's two spirits in this one. It's weird.
Like, yeah, the shadow's casting a shadow.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was going to ask, based on the weird head shape, are you sure that's not Derrick?
See, that's the good thing about my head shape is you would know that that's not.
That's true. It just looks like a frying pan walking past the room whenever Derrick walks by.
You're talking about it like it takes this light and it just like shoots it in every direction. So you would have known right then and there.
I know that.
But the crazy thing about this room and why we had this camera pointing the way we did, on the left-hand side, you see that fire poker leaning up against the wall?
Yep.
There's a giant brick oven on the left-hand side. You can actually see the dark marks on the wall coming up from that little porthole.
Yeah.
That's an oven that they used to cook in. That's why this is a kitchen. But there is a story.
Is that what you do with that?
What's that?
Is that what you do with that room? You cook in it?
Yes, Derrick. That's what we're
you
doing.
could do something else.
But the story goes that one of the patients at the poor farm, a patient's prisoner, whatever the hell you want to call them, one of the people in the poor farm had a child, an infant child that she thought was cold, so she put it in that oven to keep it warm. And hours later, people in the building smelled what they thought smelled like a turkey baking in the oven, and they came back, and it was the child that she cooked alive in that oven.
Wow.
So that's why we had this trained the way that we did, on that oven. But then you see that reflection. Like I said, I wish we had these synchronized together to see, when that shadow walked in that adjacent room, and then when we picked this up, I don't know if they coincide or if it just happened.
We don't really have much way to tell. I mean, not with the way these things reset.
Right.
See if you watch it there. I mean, I know it's casting like a shadow, but is it a casting a shadow because the shadow behind it looks a lot smaller, like a child? As if there's two. You see what I'm trying to say?
Oh, I see. There is a height difference on that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The second shadow seems to conform more to the wall. That's why I was saying it looked like it was casting it itself.
So it's like there's two there. There's like an adult and a child.
Dumb and Dumber. Huh.
And again, we have video, that recorded on this camera. If one of us walked by that doorway and there was a reflection in the window, you can clearly see that it's a person. So we don't know what it is. We can't guarantee you that it's, the ghost of a person that cooks babies, But what we can tell you is that, you know, it stands out as being different than the other videos that this captured. Thanks for giving it a thumbs up while you're in there.
Yeah, might as well since we're here. No,
Appreciate it.
That's a real good catch. Damn.
We're up to 5 now.
Guys,
Yeah,
what
but
do you
32
think, chat? What do you
views.
think about that? That's fantastic, that.
Chad's probably thinking I should shut up and let other people talk.
That's how I usually feel about
You're
him.
the talent, Dan.
Sorry, Derek. You can take it.
That's terrible. Where's my big stick?
You think what?
My big stick. I've got a stick that I
Oh,
usually
you-
bring down, you know.
Oh, you're compensating for something.
God, that's right. Oh. But that is a good. I think that as a child, I do think that's a child. That's yeah. At the very start, it's as if something walks past the door to the left, and then there's like a adult ghost, and then there's like a wee child. Unless it's the same ones.
Let's see. But yeah, that second shadow does kind of look like it has a hood on or something.
I was going to say a nun, but there wasn't many nuns there, would there?
We don't know.
It's possible. There wasn't a lot of good documentation kept back then.
I just hope it wasn't
It
like
does look like
the nun. We don't want the nun. We don't want the
that'll
nun.
be fine.
Phallic.
But it does look like a nun. You see, I don't know if anybody's noticed this. A nuns usually get the old. I mean, how far back are we talking here? What century was this place built?
Ooh, this was prior to the Civil War. I know that much.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
built.
right.
I know it was in the 19th century that it was built. I just don't know how early.
Well, I want to say it was like 1850s, maybe. But at that point, it was just for a family. It wasn't until like the Civil War occurred that they really needed to add to the poor farms, and this entire area kind of blew up with them. But that's really when it started as a poor farm, was right around the Civil War.
Unless I don't know what they're called in America. Remember, you used to see like the slaves would, especially the women, would wear like a headdress. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That worked in the house
Mhm.
in buildings. I don't know if, yeah, I'm wondering if that's what we're seeing here. It's maybe no a nun. It's maybe a slave wearing some type of head. Can you be? I can't remember what they're called, but I've seen them in like Civil War programs.
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, this place, like Derek was saying, from the time that it ran as a private house to the time that it was a poor farm and everything in between, there was such a large period of time that it could have been, you know, anybody's guess what people would be wearing, or people, you know, what their function was to be there. You know, there's just so many variables that we really can't guess.
That's a cracker of a capture, I must admit.
It is.
Well, thanks for continuously playing it, because now we'll actually get like some views since nobody
I don't know
watches
if-
our stuff.
That was
I don't
probably
know.
me watching it 30
Don't worry, I'll
times.
go in tonight and watch it. I don't worry, I'll go in tonight and watch it about 50 times or something.
Hey, perfect. Get her. Take a picture of the back of her straight onto her back.
This was one of those moments that was like Dan was saying with the flashlight. This was interesting for two reasons. There's another video that we shared, or maybe it's a picture of the thermal camera. Erin was standing there kind of right off screen. I believe that's her glow stick, Dan, if I'm correct.
On the left?
On the right. Red.
Yes,
I think that was her.
Yes. Yes.
So, but she was feeling something cold on the back of her neck. We took the thermal camera to it, and you could actually see, like, it looks like a handprint on the back of her head. As we're talking about that, this flashlight, which hadn't been going off, at all? I mean,
no, we were getting ready to leave that room because it was just sitting there doing absolutely nothing. Take a picture of the back of her straight onto her back because you're on kind of an angle on that second. So then, like, hearkening back to that discussion about like using, our senses to drive our equipment. This is what Derrick captured on the back of Erin whenever, he put the thermal on the back of her head. And she's saying she felt something like touching below, like on her neckline on the bottom of her hair.
You can see like something. Let me get closer.
I'm glad you elaborated that's a person, because I was thinking something way different.
I don't even need to guess.
Oh God! What have you been doing, Derrick? And the damnedest.
Yeah, so you can see the camera on the last footage would have been to her left, looking kind of off to the side. So we weren't even paying attention to that flashlight. We were paying attention to what was happening on the thermal camera. You can hear us talking about it.
The back of her straight onto her back because you're on kind of an angle on that second one.
So we're talking about the thermal image when this light goes off. So you combine those two, you see in the thermal the outline of her body with what looked like to us as a handprint there. We just kind of put these things together, but without her saying something, we might not have got any of this stuff. We would have had nothing to go off of.
It does look like a handprint, I must admit.
It does.
Yeah, it's like almost looks like a hand and then like a forearm continuing.
Yeah, I mean, you think like Thing maybe from the back of her head.
Yes. Yeah, I think that absolutely. I think that's what it is. Confirmed.
Now we know.
There's a question from Louise there. Do you find it's heat or cold signatures that seem to show yours more?
Take a picture of the back of her straight onto her back. So what we typically see on the thermal for unexplainable heat signatures typically is cold. So a thermal picks up temperature, right? So theoretically, when something is using your energy or the energy surrounding, the entity or whatever it is, they're absorbing the energy, which removes heat from that area to manifest, to touch us, to do whatever. That's why typically things are colder, right? So we have picked up in Gettysburg, we do have a really cool thermal video that actually comes out hotter than the surrounding area of something like a figure walking across the battlefield. But we don't typically see warmer signatures. That's why we didn't think that it was something when it was captured, because it was a hot signature. But then when we shined the flashlight over there was nothing there. So to answer the question, usually it's colder than the surroundings, but sometimes we have seen it where it's hotter.
It's more of just a big major energy change or heat signature change, because that camera can pick up somebody and the color as you're moving can still look like it's hot, even though it's just, I mean, not that it's cold, it's just not as hot as it once was. So you can still pick these things up with the heat signature. It's just not going to be as hot, if that makes sense. But to Dan's point about removing the energy, and you can actually see it drain through the heat sensitivities. It's very possible.
Yeah, so Mad Lulu said they were getting a hot heat signature the other night. I'm assuming on an investigation.
Yeah,
It's
they were
absolutely
in
possible.
Oh yeah.
So it's absolutely possible that, and especially because it's a thermal is color versus the surrounding. So it's hotter than, like Derrick was saying, hotter than, colder than, So I think if you take, that's where we get the best is if you take, the thermal, what it's reading, and then validate it with something else, like another piece of equipment. Is there somebody standing there? Is there, somebody interacting with another object? If you're able to piggyback off of each other, it's very possible getting the high heat signature could be coming from something paranormal.
It does look weird, I must admit. That on the back of the head. I mean, it's just odd looking.
Take a picture of the back of her straight onto her back, because you're on kind of an angle in that second one.
And move on.
Well, I'm bossy on these investigations, aren't I, Derrick?
I mean, someone's got to be. You just step up at great times.
So these are clear footsteps.
Yeah, so this was at the end of one of those long hallways that you saw before, right outside of a highly trafficked area of the barbershop. What we noticed were a few different things, and we tried to take this thermal camera around the entire area. So that's why you see more of a video than just a picture like before. We were trying to figure out if we step here, what would this look like? So what you can actually see is that white,
taking a lot of pictures of you tonight.
Whatever you want to call that, that was actually one of our tools. That was our computer screen. So you can see behind that what looked like a pair of feet,
I've taken a lot of pictures of you
kind of
tonight.
standing, not moving. We went back later in the night to try to see if whatever it was just there, and there was nothing there. At that same time, that's when we were getting a lot of like knocks through our recorders, through the EVPs, kind of just down hallways, as if we were just picking up some kind of residual in this area. But yeah, that was one of those interesting moments where we were able to videotape us actually trying to debunk something like this and figure out what exactly it was.
It does look like a set of footprints.
I know, I've taken a lot of pictures of you tonight.
It does.
Thank you.
Very
But,
strange.
Aaron can make an appearance in voice, if nothing else.
Thank you.
It's hard to find good help, Derrick, isn't it?
I'm still looking.
We can say whatever we want. She's not going to watch
Oh,
this.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
Makes you wonder who was standing there.
I know, I've taken a lot of pictures of you tonight.
Like me,
We didn't
thinking,
really
what are these
pinpoint
two doing?
anybody in that area, but we did get a lot of voices as if we were just overhearing kind of like conversations. Something that may have been imprinted in one of those areas that was just kind of everybody has been to in the building. Everybody goes, everybody talks, and kind of just tells their story. More of a social kind of thing. But we never really.
This was right outside of the barber shop for the building. Mm-hmm. So all of the men could go there to get their hair cut. The women couldn't, but the men could go there to get their hair cut. And you figure there's probably quite a number of people that were in and out of that small room every day. They still have a few barber chairs in there and things that were, I don't know if they were original to the building or if they were brought in, but it kind of set the scene, right? And it's almost like there's, I don't want to say like a line, but it's just these people. And when we were doing Phasma Box later in the night, we asked if they wanted to listen to music. And they said they did. So then we asked them to play what song they wanted to hear, because we were going to play the music, maybe stir them up a little bit that way. They actually told us a song that neither Derrick or I or Aaron had ever heard of before. So then we played it.
It was like a song. We had to look it up.
It was like a 1920s song or something like that.
Interesting.
It's very interesting.
I think we got enough time to squeeze in one more. I have no clue. The timer on my end as far as how long we've been going, reset. So I have no clue how long we've been going.
1 hour 10 minutes. 1 hour and 10 minutes.
We've done worse.
Yeah. Come on, let's see some more. We can stay on
No,
the
we
road.
got
Jenny's
some-
show the other night for about 3 hours.
Really?
Yeah, for an hour and a half
Wow.
long goodbye.
That's completely
Thanks
different.
for
though.
coming out.
Yeah. Turn that on.
So this was in the dungeon, and I know Dan can
Hello?
talk about this area a lot more. This was just one of the moments that we got on video of the
Wow.
K2 just kind of flickering down there. But I know that he had some
Thanks for coming
experience
out.
earlier in the night in that area where things were using the K2 to answer him.
Yeah, so I was down in this area. So they call it the dungeon
Really?
because there were
Wow.
old iron
Thanks for
handcuffs
coming
that
out.
when they were looking through the building were found hanging on the wall and like bolted to the wall
Hello?
in one of the rooms on the right hand side of this hallway.
Really?
So they call it the
Wow.
dungeon. They think that that's where, they would put
Thank you for coming
patients
out.
when they weren't behaving, weren't listening to the things they were supposed to. They would put them down there potentially.
Hello?
So it was myself and
Really?
Aaron's mother was actually with
Wow.
us on this one, and her and I, when we
Thank you for
investigate
coming out.
together, just the two of us, like we get some really cool things because we're both sensitive to some extent. And
Hello?
she had something where she could feel like we would not get
Really?
anything on our K2. And,
Wow.
she started to feel like there was something holding on to her
Thank you
arm
for coming out.
and, would take the K2 and put it right by her arm and it would light up like a Christmas tree, and we followed it and we would follow it
Hello?
into rooms. And if I would branch off of her,
Really?
it would stop. It'd only be
Wow.
whenever the two of us were together in this area that,
Thank you for
the
coming
K2
out.
would do anything. So we rule out any kind of mobile interference. We always have our plane or our cell phones on airplane mode when we do investigations, so that we're not getting text messages. There's no data transfer.
Wow.
Yeah.
When we went back to this
Thank you for
area,
coming
it
out.
wasn't as active as it was when it was just her and I. So when we went back here,
Hello?
there was more of us, and we think that whatever was here
Really?
was too shy and didn't want to
Wow.
talk to everybody
Yeah,
as a group.
I think we scared him
more
off because there was a
Thanks for
total of
coming
7 of
individuals
us.
than they were, the whole experience.
Hello?
It's very interesting that.
Really? Wow.
See how it's like dulling down. I've never really seen that
Thank you
before.
for
It's,
coming out.
Oh, and that was just a flicker, something kind of passing by almost.
Hello?
What Dan was referring to earlier, like
Really?
the K2, I saw
Wow.
what, maybe a picture, just your description, but either way, it was going all the way up
Thank
to
you for
red. It
coming
wasn't
out.
just a quick flicker. It was a strong energy pool in signature that was kind of guiding him.
Hello?
Yeah, and it was when we were getting that stuff down there, just her and I.
Wow.
That was earlier in the night when we were trying
Thank you for
to
coming out.
kind of assimilate ourselves to the environment, kind of get used to the energies that were there and everything, try to see what we had
Really?
as like smaller groups
Wow.
to try to cover the most area, and then
This-
we would try to refocus
Thanks
all
for
of our
coming
equipment
out.
in a certain area if we had one versus the other that was had a different vibe to it. So we didn't have any
Hello?
equipment with us to besides a K2 meter and like a cell
Really?
phone or something, voice recorder, that kind of simple stuff. So we didn't have anything to back it up. But
Thank you for coming
I think I
out.
have
Yeah.
cell phone videos of it, but outside of
You-
that, didn't have
in
too much.
your recorder, I do believe, had produced some whispers.
Hello?
I don't know how much time we have left, guys, but I did
Really?
give you some recordings from this,
Wow.
and we could never decipher what they said,
Thank
but
you
we
for
got
coming out.
whispers after the fact, just kind of in our review again find all this stuff after, not during.
Hello?
I'm sure, Dakota, we could fit in some EVPs.
We'll see.
It's only 1 hour 15 minutes into the show. Fine.
We're going to try to beat Jenny's record. Is that what you're doing?
Oh my God, I will be. Jenny likes her shows.
We
I
tease
couldn't
with love,
keep my
Jenny.
legs after
Remember
watching
it.
all last night.
You want to complain? He's the one that said it, not me.
No, Jenny's shows are amazing. If you remember, check it out. Emerald Isles Paranormal, amazing show last night.
Drink up. Yeah. So I'll give this Elizabeth here.
Don't you know?
I think you might have to fast forward this one to like a minute 2 and then a minute 8 are the 2 timestamps on this one. The whispers I was referring to are towards the bottom of this list. If you did want to just listen to those ones, but have at any of them.
If there is one of you, what is your name?
We had it back to back there.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So that was through our Phasma box.
If there is one of you, what is your name?
It's interesting.
Nothing that tied together. No other Elizabeths really has surfaced to our knowledge.
All right, let's check this whisper.
So kind of in the background, you can hear the footsteps. That would be Dan and Aaron's mom in this clip. And at this particular moment, you can hear a woman's voice. That is Aaron's mom.
Yeah. And we have a very strict no whisper policy when we talk to each other.
It's towards the end there where it almost sounds like a few syllables, but we never got anything out of it, and we could never really replicate that in any of the other recordings. I've tried to enhance that, and it doesn't really produce too much.
I hate when that happens.
It's interesting.
Like,
Well, I also hate tinkering with it too much because then you're taking away from what it actually is, you know?
Right.
True.
I believe it was right there, like right early on, around 2 seconds or so.
Yeah, you hear it.
And then again at the end. But again, nothing. I know we wouldn't have been whispering. Like Dan said, we have a no whisper policy. If you go with us anytime before we start something, like if you got to say something, say it. And I believe at both of these times, correct me if I'm wrong, Dan, but that was just you and Jill. So I know that you wouldn't have been whispering, and I think she kind of got the gist of it. Like you wouldn't have been having a conversation by whispering, basically.
No, never. And Derrick and I will hit people if they whisper. We will turn around and punch them in the face. So we're pretty strict with it.
Oh.
Yeah, you hear it there.
Sounds like a woman.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things the woman, the host from the Historical Society that was there that night, the one thing that she told us was that teams that investigate there typically have more communication on repeat investigations. It's almost like, the spirits get used to people. So a lot of what we captured as far as verbals at this location were like these types of whispers, like they were around, but they just didn't want to talk to us kind of thing, or they were like unsure about us, so to speak.
Yeah.
So we're actually very interested in going back to this location at some point.
Yeah, See, it might be different the next time you go back. There might be, there's.
We'll also know kind of some of the areas to pinpoint too, just based on some of these trail cams. I mean, I don't think we spent a lot of time actually investigating the kitchen aside from a pass through here and there. And the end of that hallway there, I don't think we would have had any reason to really pinpoint that one room. So we now would know that.
Yep.
Definitely.
Well, where can everybody find you? Obviously, you've got your YouTube channel. Can we stick that in the chat for everybody? The links will be below this video too. But you just want to give yourselves a plug, guys.
Go ahead, Dan. It's all you.
Give yourselves
It's your favorite
All right.
part.
So our main form of social media is Iron City Paranormal on Instagram. That is, when I say main, that's the one that we update the most often. As Derrick's going through evidence, we will put stuff on Instagram and ask for people's feedback if we hear something that we can't really make out and want people to, provide some support one way or another. Tell us we're crazy. Tell us what they hear. Instagram is like our most updated. We stay pretty up to date on Facebook as well. It's also Iron City Paranormal on Facebook. We started the YouTube channel, so we use it for two things. We use it for a dump of everything. All of our media goes on there. That's video, at least. We will.
I'll label that as raw, just so no one's thinking this is something else. This is literally a dump of all of our evidence. Everybody and anybody can get their eyes on it. Give us their feedback. We've had so many comments like, "What are we looking at?" Like, you tell us.
Yeah, you tell
that's
us.
the intent.
Here. Yeah, so we have also started on our YouTube channel, putting some videos together. They're not anything like, us running around in haunted houses and freaking out whenever we hear, somebody run into something. We're not like the Ghost Adventures kind of stuff. That's not our vibe. But we have started to put some videos together of like a conversation of the history of the location, with some cool pictures that Derrick's able to dig up, some footage from the investigation, any evidence that we capture, all of that goes onto a video, and that we've started to do that. So you'll see that on our YouTube channel as well. But really,
I believe we had just updated one earlier today. So I mean, it's all brand new stuff that we're just kind of, as we get to it, we're trying to put something together to share.
Yep. And then the last one is our website. It's ironcityparanormal.org. That one's also where, prior to the investigation, Derrick will put up a history of the location, have any kind of paranormal history to it. If there's people that have had experiences there that we know of beforehand, he'll put that in the write-up.
And then we're able to kind of share that out via our social media and have had some really good feedback and success by getting even more stories. This person was associated with this place. They have a family lineage from there, something like that we can then pull from as well.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So do you accept any haunted items?
Remarkably, yes, we do.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you've got like an artifact that's maybe possessed by like Satan itself, these are the two guys to send it to. Derrick has definitely got to take it. He's got to sit in his living room. He's got to sit there at night.
It goes in my office. I'm there every day. Spend some time with them.
If Derrick would die from suspicious circumstances, we'll know why.
It wasn't my wife.
Or he wakes up one morning with a full head of hair. He'll be like, "My God, this doll is a blessing."
What the hell happened?
It works.
Everybody will be wanting to show you.
God.
Yeah. So, Dakota, do you want to say anything before we head off?
God, well, thank you guys for coming on again. Y'all are always more than welcome. Yeah, if you like, we can get you linked up on our streaming service. Maybe try to get some more people sent your way. For your YouTube channel. So
yeah, that'd be awesome.
All
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. It's always a pleasure to be on with you guys. We always have a good time. So thank you very much.
It took so long to get back on.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll need to get you back on again soon. And honestly, thank you for coming on, because I'm going to rewatch this back tonight because I want to see what that shadow was.
Yeah, so
behind
do I. Get it. Grab a
Yeah.
screenshot of it if you can.
Definitely.
Yes. I'll be a wee doll. I'll be creeping about.
Yeah, I'll send you a
Chuck it.
picture of about that little guy. I'll dig him out for you.
It's like I think we
Yeah,
had
that'd
one
be great.
person in the chat say they might have seen it, but it was his brother, so that's a questionable source.
That is a questionable source. That is definitely a questionable, especially on a Saturday night. You know.
At least
on
you
the
have
Easter
family
break.
support. They're paying attention.
That's true.
Mm.
That's true. Neither
So
of our
Dakota-
wives commented on this one. So
No, but
that
I
is-
might get a text
Oh,
from my
yeah.
mom in a little bit.
Well, at least we got something.
Well, apparently my sister uses this show to help calm down her 4-month-old, so
Nice.
No, nice.
It must
Starting her young.
That's awesome.
But honestly, and everybody in the chat have a fantastic Easter break. You guys stay. I hope you get lots of chocolate eggs. You can sit and eat them all tomorrow. Dakota, what's on the show tomorrow? We're talking about robots tomorrow.
Hey, that was one of your picks, man.
Yeah, we're talking about AI. We're talking about the latest robotics that's coming. Just think you'll be able to take a robot ghost hunting soon with you. Would you know like that if you can afford that? As you know.
I thought that was a
Hey,
Tesla.
if you provide the robot and the programming, we will absolutely take it with us on an investigation, but we will not buy our own.
Oh, they're not that expensive. Oh, a couple of $100 million or something like that.
You know, I got a couple thousand, nice couple car payments to do you.
Like I said, you
It wouldn't
give
take you
us
long
the
to pay
equipment,
off.
we will run it.
Yeah, well, when Bald and Bonkers is a big corporation, we're making billions every year, we'll buy a robot.
And now we have
after he
proof.
gets his sex toy.
We do.
Aye,
It might be the same
there you
thing
go, if you're into that
Wait,
kind of
wait,
stuff.
whoa.
That's,
Chris,
if you're
whoa.
into that kind of thing, if you're into
I
that
can
kind of
touch
stuff,
a little more than you realize, brother.
Derrick is into this kind of stuff. Look, as he says, he got a doll sent to him. You know, he's into these things. You know.
I didn't, from the description, it didn't sound like the doll needed patched up when Derrick had a rough weekend, but hey.
You don't need to know certain things. You know, we just don't ask questions.
Oh, no, hey, no,
It's fine.
Hey, no
It's
judgment
fine.
here. No judgment here. No.
No judgment here. No judgment here. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for coming on, and everybody in the
Thanks,
chat. We'll
guys.
see you all tomorrow night. See you all soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Stay
Take care,
spooky.
everybody.